Hello Internet, welcome back to CodeStar channel. So in this video, we will be learning about API calls, and at the end of this video, you should be able to make an API call on a basic level, right? So what are API calls? Basically, an API call is when you want to make a request to another application, right? That is different from your application, and you make a request and you get a response, right? As simple as that. But then, why do we even need to make an API call? If you noticed in the last video, we're able to render a list of products like this, right? However, we had coded it in our code. So we had something like this, and that was what we displayed, okay? That was what we displayed, this, right? But we don't want, why? Because in case we have maybe 1,000 products, are we also going to hard code it here, right? And it's going to make our code very verbose. We want to write the least lines of code to achieve the most, right? So that's the concept of API call. Why not just make an API call and maybe you are given a URL, just make a request to that URL, which is usually called endpoint. You make a request to it and you get a response, and the response can be a list of products. It could be 1,000, it could be 10,000, it could be hundreds of thousands, right? You just make a request and you get this, and you put the response, you save it in a variable, and then you display it instead of hard coding it in your code, right? Okay, so that's the concept of API call. So let's delete all this. Let's delete all this. So we have an empty array. Okay, so we have an empty array. Okay, we have this. Okay, good. I save my work, right? And then come back here. You see we now have an empty Canva. Okay, and then if you've been following this video from day one, right, the entire thing we've been doing was to come to this point, right? So it's been a chain of classes, right? If you do not understand this class, it's because you need to visit previous videos from day one. So the entire thing we've been doing, right, we've been keeping it here. But now I can delete everything from day one, okay? I delete it. I can also go to my index.html and also delete everything here. Okay, we just want to achieve very few lines of code, and for the most. So come here, delete. So we have this, okay? So we have this, we have this, we have this. Okay. Okay, good. We have this, right? This is an empty Canva. We'll go back to our JavaScript file. Good. So we want to render that list here. But this time around, instead of hard coding it, we're getting it from an API. Okay, now what's an API? Like I said, it's like an application, and you want to make a request to the application, and then you get a response. But there are different kind of requests that you can make to an application. You can make a request to just view or read, right? Usually are called get method. You just want to get resources from that endpoint. You want to read, okay? And if you look at the e-commerce site we're building, right, at the point where you just want to see the product, we're just reading, okay? And also you could also want to update. Maybe you want to update the price of a product from $12 to $13, and that would be the put or patch method. You want to update, right, a record. That's going to be put or patch method. Now, if you want to insert a new product, let's say we had 20 products and you want to insert a new one, so we have 21, then that would be a post method, right? And then if you want to delete a particular record, let's say you want to delete a product because you don't have it anymore in your store, you no longer have it in your store, you can just use the delete method to take it out, right? It's as simple as that. So remember, post for inserting a new record, put or patch for updating an existing record, delete for deleting or removing a record, and then we have get for getting or read only. You just want to read a record. Okay, so that's basically the 5 methods that we use in making API calls. There are others, but then this is usually what we use to do our CRUD implementation. CRUD, which means create, read, update, and delete. Okay, so that's it. So to make your API call, right? Remember I said it's a request and response. Now we're going to go to a particular URL. So you type fake.api.com/products. When you click on this, we have this. So this is an endpoint, right? And look at the data that it returns as a response. So we made a request to this and it gives us this, right? So I'm going to click on this pretty print so we can see it in a well formatted style. So I do this and this is what it gives us, and you see it's similar to what we had before. This is a list of objects. So this is the list here. Okay, look at the objects here. Okay, and you see we had each object has an ID, title, price, and all of that, and we have about 20 objects in this list. All right, so instead of hard coding this, right, instead of copying it and putting in our code, all we just have to do is call these endpoints, right, or a URL, but it's usually called endpoints anyway. You call this endpoint and it gives you this response. So by the way, this is a backend service that has been hosted. So this is how the front end communicates with the backend, right? This is a hosted backend service. But look at, imagine a customer comes to an application and this is what he's seeing. How does he even relate with it? So that's why we need the front end to give it a nice look, right? So we are going to add a front end to this backend service that have been hosted, and we'll see what it's going to look like, right? That's basically what we're going to be learning in this class. To do that, I'll come here and I do const. I want to create a function, and the function is to fetch the API. So I'm going to call it fetch product API. I just say fetch product API and then do this, right? And do this. Good. Right. But then, since we are talking to another application that is not within our application, there's a possibility that the server may not be available, right? These are just possibilities, okay? There's a possibility that it may not be available. There's a possibility that this, what's it called? This URL or endpoint is no longer accessible. There just may be a lot of possibilities, right? So we can't tell because it's not within our control. The server is not within our control. The service, the application is not within our control. So we are only making a request to it to get a response. So there may be so many reasons why it might be down, right? Okay. So in that case, for that reason, we're going to be using the try and catch, all right? And also there's a new concept that I want to, introduce to us. It's called the promise and, wait, async and await, async and await, yeah. So it's like when you make a request to somebody, but then instead of the person giving you what you asked for, the person gives you a promise to say, oh, wait for me, right? I am going to get it. So that's what it means. Okay, do you understand? So look at it. So I'm going to use this async word, async. Good. Like I said, it's a new thing that we're learning, and the essence is when you're making a request to a server or an endpoint or whatever it is, you may not get the response immediately, but it's going to give you a promise, and then you wait. It may take a while, right? Because it's not within your code. It may take a while, so that's why. So we do async and await, and here we're going to do this. Also, we have the try and catch. Like I said, when there are errors, there could be errors you never can tell, and then catch. Okay, so we're going to say E, and then So this E stands for error. So we're going to say console log error. Okay. So here we're going to say const. I call this API products response. So we want to save the response in this variable. So we're going to do I'll say let's, okay, let's response equal to, well, it doesn't matter anyway. Let's response equal to I'm going to say fetch. Now, good. Fetch what? So we want to fetch from this endpoint. So we're going to copy this endpoint. Okay. So we're going to put it here. But let me just save it in a variable. I'll say let URL equal to, right? Usually better to put it in a variable in case you want to reuse it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, yeah. So you can say URL. Okay, good. We want to fetch this URL, and then we also have to pass in some other, arguments here. So this is the URL. So it's going to ask us what method. So we're going to say method. The method is get. Remember, get. So we just want to, view this product. We just want to view it. Okay, get, and it's going to say application contents. Application is it content? Yeah, application contents. We're going to say is it, no, it should be content type. Content type. Sorry, I can't remember this, but let me just remove this for now, but it's still going to work. I think it's application, I don't remember. But then here we have this, then we're going to say, okay, we can close this and say let's log, just watch what's going to happen. Let's console log these API products, console.log. API product response, and then let's call this here. Let's just call it here so that we'll see. Remember, if you don't call it, you won't say it. Remember, this is a function declaration, and we'll try to call it here. Okay, so let me go back to this and then do an inspect so that we'll see what's happening. So did you see? So this is it's giving us a promise. You see that? It's giving us a promise, but we need to get the data itself. How do we get the data? So you use what is called an await. So you have to await it here, right? You await it here. And then when you save, right, we have, it's giving us a response now, right? It's giving us a response, good. But this response that it's giving us, right, it's not serialized. Serialized means it's not giving us as a JSON response. So you see, it's giving us 200, status 200 means successful. And you see this is okay, true, which means we're getting it, right? And you see that okay, true, status text, and this is the URL we're calling, right? And then here, we just want to, how do we now, serialize it? How do we get it as a JSON? Or rather, how do we get it as an object, right? Okay, how do we serialize it? So you can do this dot JSON. So once you do this and you save your work, now we have, okay, yeah. So here we need to just do the await again. So since it's giving us a promise, you await it and then we get this. So we are getting that list here. Do you see? We're getting that list here. Okay, we're getting that list here. So now instead of us to hard code it, we're getting it from that that endpoint. So how do we now pass this list that we're getting into this so that we just have that rendered here? So to do that here, right, let's first of all save all these things in a variable. So I'll come here and say let's products. I call it product list. I just call it product list and then save it here. So I can just go on and product lists and do this. So I still have it. I'm logging. I'm printing the product list now. So in order to get this, what do we do here? We'll just how do we do it now? Let's think. How do we do it? We want to pass in this product list, and remember this is scoped, right? We can't access this thing outside this block. So what we do now is that we're going to create a method, or we're going to wrap this inside a method. We can call it const let's call it render product or whatever. Okay, and it's going to take in a list. It's going to take in a product. Just copy this, right? So we are using this argument that is passed here, this parameter, and then we do this, and then make sure you cover here, and then okay, sorry about that. So okay, remove this last one, and then we have this. Just formats. Say format documents, and then it should be well formatted now. So we have this, and we'll call this render products here, and then we'll pass in these lists. We're going to pass in this here, and then pass it in here. So yeah, this should work. So we have the products rendered here. Do you see that? So we're getting the same response from an API, right? Other than hard coding it. So look at this. Just this implementation is what is giving us that entire this. So even if it's a million product that is inside this that this resources producing, right, we'll still be able to render it. Although there are ways to optimize rendering a million resource. You can't just render a million resource just like that. We have can do lazy loading or pagination, but we've not come there. That will be much later, right? I'm just trying to learn how to use vanilla JavaScript in our DOM, right? So this is it. We've been able to make an API call to get this, right? So that's it. But lastly, instead of just calling this like this, right, it's not good practice. So what we're going to do is that we are going to call this inside an onload function. Onload means once you refresh this browser, or you just turn on this, once you just call in this URL, the first time it is loading, right? If it's loading or refreshing or whatever, it's just going to bring up this product. So we're going to do window dots, is it onload? Okay, should window dot onload, yeah. So we can just call this here. So you see the work, and then we have it here. So once the page is loaded, we'll see this. Do you see that? So we can go ahead and remove this console. We don't need it to be logged again since we're getting it, right? Except you want to debug. So we don't have it here anymore, and we have our code running very well. So this is it. You see, very nice. So we've been able to learn how to make an API call. Okay, so in the next video and the last, we're going to be doing about the DOM manipulation before we go into frameworks, right? Is that we'll see how we can just click on this product and we open up every detail about this product, so, in a larger display. All right, so that's it. Thank you very much for coding along and your attention. I wish you the best. Happy coding. Bye. See you in the next video.